All right. Happy Wednesday, friends. I hope everybody's staying safe out there. It's getting really dark here. Miss Julie is in the line of storm, so we don't know if she's going to be able to pop on later or not. But I told her to stay safe with her kiddos, so that's why she's not here with us tonight. So I'm Ashley from Last Call Catfishing. Who do we have with us tonight, guys? Who is?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I'm Joe Hatfield. I'm the tournament director for Hoover Cats and also the president of the Central Ohio Catfish Seminar. Central Ohio Fishing Seminar, sorry.
I'm Andy Ward. I run the Central Ohio Catfish Club.
Michael King with River Rats Catfishing Club.
Thank you guys for joining us tonight. We wanted to try to get some tournament directors on here and kind of get their input on catfish conservation while we're fishing because we keep saying it starts with the angler. So I really appreciate you guys taking time out of your Wednesday to be on here with me. Periodically tonight, if you all can comment your name, Jeremy Chase with Chasing Outdoors is going to be giving away a cast net if we get our 100 views. So if you want in on that, we need you to comment your name so we know you're here. And be sure to share it out so we can get more people on here. Let's just start by your trails and let each of you kind of go over your trails and where you all fish and how you got into it. So Joe, do you want to start?
Yeah, so the Hoover Cats Trail has been going on for quite a few years. I believe in the history of it, I think I'm like the 5th or 6th director. So it's been going on for well over 15 years. Originally started, Hoover was a channel cat lake, like a trophy channel cat lake. Kind of, you get sizes like what you see up in Sandusky Bay. I believe it was in 2016, they stocked blue cats in Hoover, and now the popularity's shot up quite a bit. I've been fishing the lake for 15 years, well before the blue cats kind of were introduced, but it's been pretty neat to kind of watch it from start to finish, the dynamic of the lake, how it's changed, how much more popular it is, and the amount of fishermen that we now have that are interested in fishing the waters. So our trail, we run 8 tournaments a year, 1 per month. I have one this Saturday, which is kind of iffy with the weather coming in. We're a little worried that the ramps might get flooded out. So I know everyone's kind of waiting on that news. A couple of years ago, we introduced 2 divisions. We have a weight division, which is our traditional, catch your catfish, keep them alive, well, come in at the end, we'll all weigh them together. And measurement division, which is run through the Fishing Chaos app, and it's in combination with the National Kayak Trail, where anglers, even if you're not in a kayak, you're in a boat, you're in a bank, you're in a small craft, you can join this and you catch the fish, you measure them, and that's how that tournament's run. So it's been pretty exciting. We've seen a lot of growth the last couple of years, especially in that measurement division area. So kind of pretty excited for how that's going in the future and what that kind of means to the sport and taking care of these fish.
Nice. Andy?
I took over this trail last year. It was my first year running it. I took it over from Zach, and then I think it's been handed down 3 or 4 times as well. And I'm slowly trying to grow it a little bit. I think I'm pretty pleased with first tournament this year. We had 18 boats, so I was excited for that. And then we also we teamed up with Mike as well with the length. So we have 2 tournaments this year that'll have a length division as well, which boaters can fish as well. So you can fish both the length and the weight division. So, but that's about it.
How many tournaments?
Yours is all over the place, right?
Yes. Well, mainly around Central Ohio. We're doing. We started at Allen last week. Next week we have Clear Fork, and then we go to Seneca, and then I think after that we jump over to Deer Creek, and then it's either Griggs or O'Shaughnessy, and then Griggs, I can't remember which way it goes. And then Knox is in August. And then we have Delaware, and then our championships, a 2-day championship. We do the first day is on O'Shaughnessy and the second day is on Griggs.
Nice. All right, Mr. King, you're up.
I think I am the third director of the club. I think this is my third year running it. And we went from 300 members when I took it over. Now we're almost at 3,000. So it's definitely growing. We got 10 events this year. Probably be a couple throw-in events in between if I get the time to do them. Championship this year is looking like it's going to be a big payout. So the more boats show up, the even bigger it'll get. And it's a 2-day event also. I think our next event's in April at Island Creek, April 19th in Manchester.
Yep. So one of the big things that everybody keeps talking about with tournament fishing, and we do a lot of tournament fishing. We travel all over for tournament fishing. So one of the big things is the care of the fish throughout the day and when they come back for weigh-in. So can you guys kind of tell everybody what you do, like how you do your weigh-ins and what you've done to kind of help with the survival rate of the fish?
I think one of the things is when we do live well checks, we get Hoover. We kind of like our nursery for catfishermen. A lot of guys get their start here. So we're kind of like on the front lines of kind of teaching and helping these guys grow, whether it's giving them advice on, how to set up a live well. If you can't put oxygen in, at least go with like a Venturi system. Water changes, if guys show up and their live well is too small, they show up with like a 40-gallon tote. It's like, guys, you're going to keep potentially 100 pounds of fish. You can't do it in a 40-gallon tote. And that's why we do have the measurement division. We're like, I can't let you fish this, but here you can still fish. You just got to measure your fish. But like I said, just kind of being on the front line and, educating people and helping a lot of these anglers out and letting them know, what to do. Or a lot of times I'll go on the Facebook marketplace and I'll just search for, good totes that could be, live wells. There's a couple of specific brands I'll look for, and I'll post on my Facebook page, say, hey guys, fish this event, here's a great, a great live well to start with, and let me know if you need plumbing help or ideas with it. So yeah, I'll let Andy go next.
I've built a couple to give away to guys that were just starting. A couple live wells, a toolbox, and put a pump in there. We do a lot of our tournaments are channel cats, so you don't need as big of a live well for. And we do have a few lakes, but I always during live well check I make sure that they have a good enough live well for what we're doing. And then weigh-ins, everybody's required to have a way to get the fish to the weigh-in with them not being out of the water. So you have to have a lot of guys have a tote with a wagon that they pull the fish around in, things like that. And then as soon as they're done weighing in, they go right down to the water and release the fish.
Nice. That's what we use. We have one of those wagons that we put the waterproofing on, and we let others use it as well.
Yeah, everybody pretty much shares at our tournaments too. Like if everybody's more than willing to. If somebody don't have one, they give out their wagon.
Nice, Mr. King.
I'd say one of the biggest things that I do is not have like 30 totes sitting there for people to grab and go to their boat. I only carry 2. That way it slows it down. They're not out of the water. This guy's got the tote, then the next one can come in. It slows it way down so there's not 5 guys standing in a line with fish in a tote. I think that helps out a bunch. They're not out of the water as much.
And to build up Michael's comment, with that, now that I think about it, the way the ramp's set up where we launch off of, you naturally get kind of like a backlog of guys trying to get out of the water. So now, as he's saying it, you don't get a long line of guys, because once you get off, I try and get off the water 15 minutes early, get set up, and just keep firing guys off. So you don't have guys sitting there, 10, 20 minutes with fish in their tote. It's, they get their fish out of the tote in the water. We weigh them in, back in the tote, back in the water. We like it to be a very, very quick pace.
Yeah, I usually try to wait to do, say the tournament's over at 3:30, you got until 4 to get back. I will wait until before I start weighing fish. That way everybody's there on time. We know what's going on, and I can, mainly do the Facebook Live so everybody can see the weigh-in and stuff. Then it just slows it down. With only having 2 totes, it slows it down. And the people that bring their own usually got water in it, so it's not as a big of a deal.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys watched our previous episodes, but I asked a marine biologist with ODNR about how long it takes for fish to be affected from being out of the water, because we've been to tournaments where there's people literally just carrying the fish and standing in line with the fish. And he said there's not an actual study on blue cats, but they've done one on channel cats. And they did it in 2 different ways. They took some of them straight out of the water, tested their blood, and released them. And then they took some and left them out of the water for up to 5 minutes and then checked their blood for their levels. And the ones that were out for 5 minutes had extremely high levels of glucose, and all of their levels were just completely out of whack, to the point where he said they probably wouldn't survive when they were put in. So it's really important as anglers and as tournament directors and all that we pay attention to that. Like, I know people are always in such a hurry to get this over with. Let's get out of here. Let's get on with our day. But it really is important to make sure that they're not out of the water. Justin had a question for us, so we'll pop that on here. Let's hear why tournament directors don't want to make oxygen mandatory.
Well, I'll go ahead and field this. I'll start with it.
Okay.
The cost of getting into fishing is pretty expensive as of right now. And, I kind of get put on the spot with this question. I know that it's a lot better for the fish. It's hard to ask of people,
I know
that's not the answer he wants to hear, but it's a hard ask for people, especially with how expensive it is to get into the sport.
I know with some of the members that's in the club that come and fish these tournaments on, weekend after weekend, every tournament they're here. Same thing, cost thing. I know it's expensive. It's not that expensive to do oxygen. I do highly recommend oxygen, but as of right now, I'm not mandating. Something might happen in the future. With that being said, I do have a oxygen tester. So if you want your live wells checked, the oxygen, how well your live well is doing, get a hold of me before weigh-in or right after weigh-in, and we'll try to figure it out how to get it tested. But as of right now, it's not mandated.
It's the same thing with us. It's a cost thing. I think a Venturi system is just as good, though.
Recirculating water changes is really important.
The way my live well is set up is I'm constantly sucking in water as I'm filling it up. So it goes out the bottom and in the top, and I also have a Venturi on that fish constantly. So I think there's a lot of options, but just to make the sport more harder to get into for guys, I mean, like I said, it's a hard ask. But like I said, we have things in place. If I feel a guy's not equipped, I have that measurement division as a backup. And honestly, I'd like to see a lot of people, at least give that format a try, because I do have some anglers who have been with our trail for years. They prefer it. They're like, I don't want to take care of a fish for 8 hours. I'd rather get them, measure them, put them back right where I caught them, and be done with it. The process is just done. So, and I think Jeremy just said he has a link for us, but
yeah, somebody was asking where they could find one. So I just wanted to pop it on here. I don't know if you're local to the Ohio River, but Michael's in Georgetown, and our tournaments down there are all along the river. So I'm sure if you got with him, he would help you out with that. And I know, I can't speak for your guys' trail because I don't know a lot of the people that fish with you. We fish all of the River Rats, and they're a great group of people. And if you have any questions on setting up your oxygen, or, why we feel you should have oxygen, ask these guys. There's several of them that have the oxygen on their boats, and they've done it themselves, and they're more than willing to help you. So if you have questions, just ask people. So let's get into commercial fishing. I know you guys don't really have a lot of that up there at Hoover, being in city limits and all, but what's your take on it? Like, do you feel like it's an issue? Do you ever fish the river?
Yeah, I fish the river quite a bit. Ohio River. I go down the Tennessee River. I think it's a huge problem. My very first fishing trip that I ever took was with Dave Oprek, and I didn't even 15, 17 years ago. It was down in downtown Cincinnati, and they were still catching 60, 70 pound fish. And I know that fishery now, I mean, it's in severe decline, and I think it's a direct result from commercial fishing. And I know Ohio is a big problem because I think we host the most pay lakes where a lot of these fish are ended up being harvested and sold to. And the state of Ohio right now, the DNR says that they do not have jurisdiction of these pay lakes, and they said it's the Department of Agriculture. I fought this battle for a while too. I've called the Department of Agriculture, and they said, we don't know anything about this. And I even tried to get creative and called the gambling oversight committee, because it is gambling and there's money being exchanged, so they don't seem to want to have interest in it. But the whole pay lake, the commercial fishing thing, I do have a problem with it. I wish more people were receptive to it, and we got a little more help from our Department of Resources. I will say in Ohio it is kind of exciting that they are focusing a lot of their stocking here on. We got 10 lakes. You can't commercially fish them. They're also doing the Muskingum River and the Scioto River here in Central Ohio. They're doing the overflow stocking here. So here in about 10 years, I think we're going to have a pretty awesome blue cat fishery that is kind of immune to some extent from over commercial harvest. But yeah, I definitely think it's a problem, and I wish there's a way to address it.
Yeah, I know, like the Muskingum is the closest river for us to fish. So if we get a day and we don't have time to make it to the Ohio, we go to the Muskingum, and it's not a very big river if you're not from around here, but it's got some decent fish in it. We've both caught our record fish there, and there's not really commercial fishing there, but there's a pay lake there now, right off the river. So if you think that they're not coming down here now to take your fish, you're wrong. They're everywhere. They're everywhere.
Well, the Muskingum used to be a really good flathead fishery. And we know that, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago, it was hit pretty hard, with guys limb lining and selling to pay lakes. So I know that's been a thing that has been going on. But hopefully, I know it's not supposed to really take hold with the blue cat stocking they do up in Coshocton, and they're even doing Dillon now, not expecting the cats to stay in the lake, but in that Licking River region. I think you'll probably see some better fishing coming up here in the next few years.
Actually, the fish that I caught, they think that that's where it came from, was Dillon, from when they stocked in 2010.
Yeah.
So that's actually really cool, to like learn that history and learn that like that fish has made it that long. Hopefully we can protect them and it can get bigger. Just got it when it was 10 pounds heavier, so I need to catch it when it's another 10 pounds heavier.
Yeah, it's also interesting that it decided to stay in that general area. I know they expect most of them to end up in the Ohio River, but I think you could have an established population, of fish in that. I know, like you said, it's not a big river, and I'm kind of scared of it sometimes because of sandbars. That could be a little intimidating to navigate if you don't know where you're going. But no, hopefully the river rebounds and with what they're doing here.
Yeah, Michael, you see a lot of commercial fishing down there, don't you?
Yep, we see a lot. See a lot of all the way around here, from gill nets to hoop nets to the trout lines. They're everywhere.
Yeah, we actually had a conversation this week with the law enforcement division of ODNR about limb lines, because we were sent a picture over the weekend of some limb lines that had dead fish on them in Eagle Creek down in Ripley, Ohio. So they are investigating it. I posted it on our last call page, the email that I got from ODNR. But if you see limb lines that are set, that have fish on them that are not being taken care of, they want to know where they are. Do not mess with them. That is breaking the law as well. So just they want you to report it to them in as much detail as you can give them. If you can snap a picture of it with the location, send it to them, send it to me, and I'll send it to them. But they're trying. They can't be everywhere all at once, so they just want our help with that. Hey, there's Julie. We are in a church basement waiting for the storm to pass. So, in case you're wondering where my partner in crime is, she's hiding out in a basement in Marion, Kentucky, trying to stay safe. So,
Andy Ward, he got bumped. He's in the private chat. He said he's back. I don't know if you need to re-invite him.
okay, I'll send him a link real quick. Copy. Let me pop up a question real quick before I do this so we can just keep the conversation going. So Justin says, if guys can spend $5,000 on electronics, they can spend $200 on an oxygen system. Health of the fish is our responsibility, and you will see why I stress this when you start testing oxygen levels. Do you guys want to comment on that, or you want to just let it go, whatever you feel you want to say? Let me get Andy invited here.
One thing I will say is we, for 3 years at our Hoover events, DNR did tagging and GPS tracking of fish. So for 3 years, every single tournament we had DNR at the ramp. What we would do is we would weigh in the fish. We would take it over to DNR. They would take it on the measuring board, record their data. They would tag it. They would put a GPS in some certain species, and they re-release them to the lake. And it was part of a big blue cat study that they did to help determine, all the other lakes in the state of Ohio that they were going to stock. And I did bring this up to them when I noticed that, it did take them a while to get these fish to do all this. It was kind of a pretty, each fish took 2 or 3 minutes for them to grab, measure, release. And I did ask them about this, about, the health of the fish and having them out of the water. And what they said was catfish were pretty hardy fish. And I asked them, as we were handling these fish, I asked for them, what do you think about the general health of these fish? I mean, how are we doing as anglers, with our live well system and how everything is set up? And they said the fish looked in healthy, excellent, good condition. So, there are ways, like what Andy said, of, constantly circulating, Venturi systems. So I didn't know if we want to get into a debate over oxygen. I don't know if I'm equipped to do that right now. All I know is from my experience of running tournaments and being a tournament fisherman and what we do at Hoover, I'm pretty confident in how we handle everything.
Yeah. Michael, what are your plans for a study with the oxygen tester? That's a comment that popped up.
I'm going to take it out on the boat with me, and I want to test it in my live well with no fish in it, running oxygen and not running oxygen, running my Venturi valves only. Then when I add a fish, see what it is, and add another fish, see what it is. And as time goes on, I check it every hour to see if it's holding steady or if it's deteriorating or if I've gained oxygen, throughout having the Venturi on or the actual oxygen bottle on. So I think different temperatures of water is going to make a big difference in that. Because, like, I know for our events this year, the first 3 are going to be a 5-fish limit. Then the middle 4, I think, 4 or 5 is going to be a 3-fish limit. Then the last 3, when the water cools back off, is going to be back to a 5-fish limit. So I tried that for this year. So we'll see how that works. But same way, we can have all the rules in the world as tournament directors, but it all relies on the angler fishing, of how they take care of their fish. Just because you mandate something or have a certain gallon, restriction or whatever, if they only fill it halfway full or never turn it on, it's still the same results.
Or clean their live well.
Or clean your live well, yep.
Or over oxygenate, because that can be just as bad as not enough oxygen.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you guys have any like requirements at weigh-in on how they handle their fish? Like, do you require fish grippers or anything like that?
I don't. I don't. I try to keep them in the tote as long as possible. Carry them up in the tote. Get your pictures, put them back in the tote. Take them back to the water.
And Michael actually did something that was pretty genius, and I'm really appreciative because he built me a weigh-in box for my scale, and the way he set it up is, our call limit's 35 inches. He built this exactly 35 inches, so it prevents me from having to get out a measuring board and measure every fish because I can actually measure right on the go. So the fish are even, it's even faster. They're out of the water even less, and I thought that was a really cool idea. It's actually saved me a lot of time and stress with, some of these fish because you get guys like, oh, is that an over? Like, well, hold on, let me see. I'll slide him to the edge of the box. Boom. Nope, he's an under. So
Now, are you
just
keeping
look.
track of how many overs you have each tournament, how many unders and all that kind of stuff, how many fish they bring in?
No, I usually don't keep track of that. I just keep track of big fish.
No. I just started doing that this year. I'm trying to keep track of how many fish they bring in, how many overs they have, how many unders, that kind of stuff. That way, hopefully, at the end of the year, I can give it to ODNR and say, "Here's what I've done throughout the year. Here's some information for you. Here's some studies that we did."
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll accept it or not, but I'm gonna try.
Like I said, we did the thing with DNR for three years. Every single tournament, they got to record every single fish that we caught. So I know they got to kind of see, the catch rates and kind of how we do everything. So that was pretty cool to be part of. And also, as part of the program, I got a fish scanner. So if I catch a fish, I actually got one of the live tag scanners because it did internal tags. I can loop it over the fish, and it records all the data, the GPS mark, the track where I caught it from, and actually we'll send that data right to ODNR or the fisheries.
Nice. I don't know if it was your tournament that we fished or if it was just when we were up there fun fishing, but we caught one of the fish up there with a tag on it. It was the first time I'd ever seen one.
Was it a little white tag behind the fin?
Jess, do you remember? I don't even
Mine was
remember.
a red one, probably about 3 inches long.
Because it's interesting. Some of the year one fish, we caught one last year, and you could tell by the tag that it was a year one fish. And that was a fish from 2016. It was only about maybe 8 pounds and about 25 inches long. So I thought it was really fascinating, that you have, that kind of growth, because that fish is, 8-9 years old at this point. And the fact that it hasn't grown. And then, I do take that and I tell people when they commercially harvest and take out all the big fish out of an ecosystem and just leave the small fish in, some of these small fish like that's an 8-year-old fish and it's passing on its genetics. And it's just going to stunt the entire population. Yeah, so if you caught a tag fish out of there, odds are it might have been a year one if it had that little white tag on it.
What about the long red one?
The red one?
Yeah.
That's from the tournaments.
Yeah, that's from the tournaments.
Well, so I caught one of them the first time I come up and I brung you that scale box.
Yeah.
I caught one. And I think it was like 24 pounds or something, but I had to call that one. I had to release that one.
Here's an interesting thing to note. When I talked to DNR, they're doing a shocking after about year 2 or year 3 of this program. They had shocked up 2,200 catfish, and only I think 3 of them had the tag on it. So of all the fish that we weighed in throughout the years in those tournaments and all the fish that they tagged, they went out and did shocking. Only 3 fish out of 2,200 had the tag in it. That's kind of the population that we kind of have in that lake right now.
You brought up a good point about the genetics and, them passing them on and stuff. Do you guys do tournaments during spawn?
I try and avoid it this year. My gap is just based on the history of Hoover and when they start spawning. My gap, I think I have a tournament in June. Then I don't have one until the end of July. So I try and schedule a gap period to account for it. And it honestly depends each year because it depends on the water temperature, but we do try and add that gap in.
I have 2 that are during spawn. The one's early June and one's late July.
Yeah, I got one late June, late July.
But they're night tournaments as well.
Yeah, I got one that's it's a 3-day or a 3-fish limit. Then the other one is a big fish only tournament.
Joe, do you know what it would take to be able to do like a tagging like that on the Ohio River?
To do a what?
The tagging, like to have them come to like the weigh-in and tag the fish and track them?
It honestly depends. Well, it would depend on which DNR you're talking about, because I know Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, or whatever states bordering, they'd have to be interested in doing it. One of the reasons why we did it at Hoover, or we were involved with it at Hoover, is because they wanted to expand the blue cat stocking program. So Hoover, of course, is the source, is, aside from Dillon's, the source, of the blue cat stocking, of the program. So it honestly depends on what they would use it for. In our circumstance, they were using it for, to expand on the what stocking they were doing already. If they were going to do it on the Ohio River, I imagine they probably do it near the Muskingum or Soda River to see what kind of, how many fish or what kind of fish that they're stocking up in Shockton or up in O'Shaughnessy or making it down. Maybe that's something that they'd be interested in the future, but they actually approached me about it. I didn't approach them.
Gotcha. I know they did one on the Ohio River. When I talked to Rich, the director up there, he said they just did one last year and they're finishing up the results of that. So they're supposed to get us those results as far as like population and if they feel like they've declined since their last study. So we're waiting on those results to come in.
Was that
Do you know
Kentucky
where they're
doing
doing
that
this? Oh, sorry, Michael, go ahead.
study? Was that Kentucky doing that study or Ohio?
That was Ohio.
Do you know where they were doing it?
I do not remember what I know it was the Modal Pool, because that was the area that we fished and we were talking about on the phone. I don't know the exact location that they were at.
Okay.
I know they were below the dam because I remember seeing the boat down there shocking fish.
Yeah, I'm glad they did that pool, because I think that's the one that's hardest hit, and you probably see the best results. If they went up, and anything like bordering West Virginia, like in Gallipolis or something like that, you might not get the results you want.
There's a question on here asking if they are reproducing in Hoover and if we know that for sure.
They're not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be a sustainable population. I think you will always have, like with Saw Guy, you always have a certain percentage that will be able to spawn productively. But from what I've been told, no, they are not supposed to be able to sustain themselves.
Andy, how about you? Like in the lakes that you guys fish, have they ever done any studies at any of those places?
They did a study 2 years ago on Knox where they set some hoop nets and took a bunch of channels and flathead and weighed them and got lengths. But that was just for, they weren't really doing it for the flathead as much as they were the channel cats to see if they needed to stock more in Knox, which I think they actually did this past year. But I don't think they've done any studies on Seneca that I know of, and I don't think anywhere else that I have tournaments.
There's a question asking, I wonder if they're planning on firing up shovelhead stocking across these lakes. Have you guys heard anything about that?
No.
I haven't heard anything about it, but what I can tell you is there have been a lot more numbers and big flathead reported out of Hoover recently. It's been kind of weird. So channel cat population, it said it used to be trophy size, and that's plummeted to almost nothing. But we've seen a big rise over the last few years in the flathead catches. I don't think they're stocking them, but I don't know if there's some kind of like weird symbiotic relationship between the blues and the flatheads that's going on there. But it's just been one of those side effects has been pretty interesting to kind of watch.
Are there many flatheads caught up there?
Big ones, yeah. I wouldn't say like huge numbers, but I mean, what Amanda catch was 62 last couple of years. She's caught a couple over six in the 60s. I know there's been a couple caught high 60s, low 70s.
Chase got one in the 60s this year.
Yeah.
Nice. There's a question. Did the new dam at Knox hurt the fishing there?
I don't think it was so much the dam as it is the pay lakers. There's abundance of pay lakers that go out there, limb line and jug. And then you have a lot of Amish out there too that over harvest. And it's gotten hit hard the last 2 years.
So let's talk about bait for a minute. I know there's been some talk on Facebook about the skipjack and people running down to Kentucky and loading up on skips and bringing them back here. Do you guys use skips up there? Are those even common?
No.
They're not native here.
So I did get a phone call tonight from one of the game wardens from Kentucky to let me know that if you post on Facebook that you are going to Kentucky to load up on skips to bring them back to Ohio to sell, you are required to have a commercial fishing license from Kentucky, and you are not allowed to catch them by rod and reel. If you have a commercial license, you have to catch them by commercial means, which is netting. So just know that they are watching you. They see all of the talk on Facebook. Just because they're not commenting on our posts, I promise you they're watching you. So I'm trying to warn you. I don't want anybody in trouble. We have several friends that are doing that. So I'm just letting you all know that Kentucky is watching. Here's another question for us. Cedar Creek, they checked the catfish population about 2 years ago. Are you guys familiar with that area? I am not.
I fished it once, but I don't know much about it.
Yeah, neither do I. I know it's a lot easier for them to check the blue cat population and flatheads than it is the channels. But talking to DNR, they told me an interesting story where when they do their shocking, when they shock up a blue, it'll just kind of come belly up and they'll scoop it up with the net and do the measurements and everything and return it, and it'll resuscitate. Flatheads will come up and swim around in a circle. Channel cats are immune to shocking, so they have to hoop net them. So you'll probably see a lot more information coming out of lakes, with the blue cats than you will, in the channel and flathead populations, just because it's a lot easier for them.
I know they've been stocking East Fork up here by my house lately in the past few years with blue cats. Hopefully that'll turn into a good lake.
They grow fast. You'll be surprised.
There's some 100-foot water in the lake, so it's deep enough to do whatever they want to do.
Yeah. I know they stocked here locally alum recently, and I know they put in a bunch of a dozen or so breeder fish. So there's a couple of big ones swimming around. It's going to be interesting to see how that lake takes off. But like I said, they some of them grow pretty quick. And like we said, some of them, we catch a tag fish that's 8 years old that weighs 8 pounds. They don't.
Yeah, have you guys watched any of the videos that Dave Allover makes? His name's actually David Arnold. He's the one that we had on here with Justin. He did a really good informational video on YouTube about like catfish size and how much they eat and what is required from them and why they're not being able to be sustained at a pay lake. It's actually a very good video. So if you guys haven't checked that out yet, Dave Allover on YouTube. It's a really good video.
Okay.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. He talks about, he's watching, so I hope that I quote him correctly. But he talks about like an 80-pound blue cat. They eat 5 to 9% of their body weight, and the amount of food that for them to be able to survive a year, like it's just not like feasible for a pay lake to stock that much in bait. It's easier for them to just let them die and keep restocking them. because, like you said, there's no regulations, there's nobody watching them, and it's cheaper to replace the fish than it is to take care of the fish.
It's also probably more beneficial to let them go hungry, so because
They're
they got
hungry,
clientele that want to come there and catch them, so they have no vested interest. Honestly, I'd like to see if them being required to purchase them, because say like I have an Ohio bait license. I don't really utilize it that much, but the amount of records that we have to keep, have an Ohio bait license. You have to have the person you sell it to, the number of fish, their name, their address, so like their email, their phone number. They're supposed to keep a lot of detailed records, but these people can just haul in fish from God knows where and the thousands of pounds and stock them, and there's no oversight, and it doesn't make sense to me. And like I said, that's the frustrating part about the state of Ohio, where nobody wants to step up. And it'd be nice just to get a name, because I know DNR says as a Department of Agriculture, just to find somebody there just want to say, oh yeah, we do this. So
yeah, we've talked a lot on here about legislation, because like you said, nobody has that regulation right now to have that. So it's being worked on. I know there are several people that are working behind the scenes, talking to people, trying to make a difference. But if you're on here and you understand why we are all so passionate about this issue, pick up the phone and call your state representatives, your senators, let them know it's an issue and that you want things to change, because the more they hear it, they're going to get tired of it and they're going to eventually start looking into it. And that's what it's going to take. We all have to band together to get changes. We can't just come on here every week or share a video once in a while on Facebook and expect them to do anything about it. Oh boy, here's a comment. Here in Ohio, whether a pay lake is getting fish from a farm or rivers, I will never support them. And we're not here to just bash pay lakes. I know it sometimes might seem like that. We get really passionate about this subject, but the last thing we want to do is bash anybody, whether they fish a pay lake or they're running a pay lake. They're still human. There are people out there that fish pay lakes because they don't have a boat. They don't have access to go fish a river, or I know you guys do the length division, but it's hard on the river to do that if you don't have a boat. And there are organizations like we're a part of that take veterans catfishing. There was a comment made on Facebook from our event page that we need to make sure that the veterans know we bash them for fishing a pay lake. That is not the case, I promise you. We support all of our veterans no matter where they fish. Our National Catfish Day, we should all call our representatives. Do you know when that is?
Is it June 20th? I maybe.
Are there any changes that you guys, as tournament directors, that you feel should be made to like tournament fishing? Like not your tournaments in general, but like tournaments like all over. Like we have King Cat, we have Mississippi River Monsters, Twisted Cat, just to name some of the bigger ones. Like, are there anything that you guys see, like, because you're running a tournament, that you think should be done differently?
I know on some of the bigger tournaments where there's $50,000-$60,000, to win, I think it's more of the anglers need to step up and take care of their fish, not worry about the prize fund as much. I mean, don't get me wrong, we're all doing it for the bragging rights of winning a tournament or whatever, but fish got to come first. I really it didn't look right. It might have put me in the money or even won the tournament. It wasn't worth losing the fish, to win a few $100 or whatever. But, all comes back to the angler, in my opinion.
Just from someone who's fished some of these bigger tournaments, and this is a loaded question. I could probably go on for an hour about it. I kind of like run these fish in the smaller trails. Run the smaller trails. It seems like just knowing everybody and having a lot of more camaraderie and a lot more understanding. Just fishing a lot of it's almost like a club trail, not extremely serious and as competitive. Like I said, I could probably go on for hours about it. So probably say some stuff I shouldn't. So I'll just leave it at that.
That's like, I know I get asked all the time about the, doing nothing but length in the boat division. I've asked several anglers that fish, they just wouldn't show up. It wouldn't be worth doing. And here, in the water that we're doing.
Yeah.
For the way the clubs run anyway. For everybody wants to see the weights, they want to see the big weights, but
yeah, and I understand that, that kind of aspect of it. And honestly, I think it's something we could wish that the industry could go that way. But like you said, I think it takes away from the spectacle of the weigh-in. I think you got to get past that. But we offer it, and it's an option, and some guys like it and some guys fish it. And, both divisions are, we're getting good numbers in both. And, we're getting a lot of kayak guys out there and a lot of guys with smaller boats who just, I'm telling them, like, dude, you're not putting a 450-gallon live well in that thing and, throwing around in it. Because that's a safety hazard in itself. And, we kind of found that out the hard way, a few years ago. So, yeah.
Yep, I've had people show up burlap sacks. Can I put them in the burlap sacks? No. Not at all.
Can I put them in a cage? And can I put them in a cage and hang them over the side?
Nope. Yep, I've had that too. No.
That's the most common one.
Yep.
Yeah, and I know like Michael's tournament, it's grown so much since we've started fishing it that his opening tournament, there were people that came to the weigh-in that didn't even fish. They had probably saw it on Facebook because we've all been sharing it out. And there were people from town that just wanted to come down and see these big fish be weighed in. And that is part of it. Unfortunately, you can say what you want about it, but like you guys said, it's the camaraderie, the getting to joke around with each other. I mean, we made a video after that tournament with one of the guys. I don't think he's watching. I don't know, because he would be commenting if he was here. But
he's trying bad.
Just joking around. They thought they had it. They thought they were in one of the top 3 places, and Michael always weighs in last. And nobody knew what Michael and Kelly were bringing in until they brought him on the scales, and they ended up taking 3rd place. So we made a little video about how you think you're the coolest guy in the parking lot, and then he shows up. So that's part of the fun of tournament fishing, is getting to talk to everybody and joke around.
Yep. Camaraderie is the biggest thing. That's one of the reasons why I do it. Like, I didn't want to see the club disappear, so I started running the club, took the club over, and now it's huge, in my opinion, for what we do.
It's the same thing with me. And our club, the club I took over was I think the last tournament before I took it over was 4 boats.
You had me beat. My very first one was supposed to be the championship tournament. We had 0.
Oh, no.
But I was expecting that because there was another benefit going on the same day. But they also had it scheduled, and I had to show up. Or I would have probably went and fished the benefit.
Yeah, I just think I've been fishing tournaments for almost 10 years now, and just fishing in general. And I have so many friends, stretching from here to Alabama, guys all over the country that, I call my friend, and, guys I just around here, it's just, it's been pretty cool. And honestly, I think if we kept it at that a lot more, I think you see a lot less problems.
Yeah. That's like where I'm at with the club. It went from my first year, I think I averaged 9 boats. Second year, averaged in the teens. And last year, I think we averaged like 26 boats for every event.
Yeah.
And just that's where I like it to be. I mean, I don't want to be a $100, $200 or 200 boat event. I mean, I like having it where I'm at. It's comfortable. It's decent payouts, and we got a good group of people, so there's not too much drama. I mean, you always got a little bit of drama, but it's been good. Can't complain.
Yeah, and if anybody is against the whole live weigh-in and you're not, you're just not a fan of it because of the conservation, we understand that. There are online tournaments that you can register for. Michael, you've done that.
Yep,
we tried to do that, but the weather didn't cooperate that day. I don't know if you guys have ever done any of that kind of stuff, but they're actually kind of neat. You can just, take a video of your fish, show the scales at 0, and then show it when you weigh it, and you post it to their live feed, and they let you know if you win.
Yeah, like I said, I run a whole division for it, so I've been doing it for a couple of years now.
And there's all kinds of them all over Ohio now, the length divisions. Mike has done a really good job at setting up a couple different trails in Ohio for length.
And they're kind of fun because you can make it a weekend or even a month out of it the way he kind of has it set up. So it can be a lot of fun if you're just looking for something kind of casual and something to have fun competing with. It's he's done a really, really good job the last couple of years, kind of expanding it and offering making it more accessible to guys and offering some kind of fun stuff to do.
Yeah, there's actually one going on right now for Bill Journey. If you guys aren't familiar with him, I think he's out in Illinois, but he had some health issues and then lost his daughter. So there's actually an online tournament that's going on this whole week. You can find that information on our last call page if you're interested. I think you have until Saturday to get your fish caught and weighed. But I mean, just things like that. You can literally fish with people from all across the country doing those online tournaments. Jeremy Chase from Chasing Outdoors says, if someone wants to fish any of these tournaments, but they don't know how, or maybe even not have the funds to buy proper live well oxygen systems, I urge you guys to pass them my information and I'll do what I can to help them. Thank you, Mr. Chase.
I think any other kind of tournament director would do that. You got any kind of questions, just ask me. I'm always open. If I can help you, we'll help you. We had a veteran that needed some help, getting gear for his boat and stuff. We made a post about it and we had overwhelming success with that. So any question you have, just ask.
Yeah, the catfishing community truly is a family. When we planned our veterans event last year, we posted it on a Sunday morning, and by Sunday night, we had 17 captains signed up. And everybody had that mindset. What do you need? What can we do to help you? And we had one of the biggest veteran events in the state of Ohio, and all from our catfishing family. You post it on Facebook and share it out, and everybody's willing to help. So there's no reason why this conservation thing can't be bigger than it is. We have to speak up about it.
Yeah, and that's a good point you make, because I do run into guys, especially in the kayak division, who are stepping into into Hoover into catfishing, and they're shocked. They'll post something online, and they'll be like, "Man, I had 20 guys, out here helping me out or giving me advice." And he's like, "God, when I was in the bass community, like if I did that, those crickets, or they'd yell at me." So he said there's a lot of culture shock, I think, when guys come over and they kind of get to experience, what we offer as a community.
Yeah.
That's why I do it.
Oh, here's another comment. Let's pop it on here. As a tournament director of a trail, I've noticed as you guys gain regulars, you build camaraderie and new anglers don't feel like outcast, and they're comfortable asking questions and willing to learn from the experienced anglers how to properly take care of their fish and want to learn proper care and conservation of the fish. I can say, like, we were new to the River Rats when we started down there. Like, I'm not sure how long that club had been going on, but everybody, and even at your tournament, Joe, when we came up there, like everybody, there's not a single person that I can say we ran into that was like, why are you here? Everybody wants you to succeed. Everybody, they might joke around with you, but at the end of the day, you were all there for the same purpose, to catch a fish. So there's no reason to be afraid. Just ask questions. So remember, guys, if you're on here, we've got about 5 to 10 minutes left. Make sure that you've commented your name. The most views that I've seen pop on here was 33. So we have not met the number to give away Castnet, but you've got time if you share it out and get your friends on here. Be sure to comment your name so we can get you in the drawing. If you guys have questions about any of these tournament trails, these are 3 very experienced tournament directors. Feel free to ask anything. As a disabled bank fisherman, more ADA accessible fishing along the rivers and lakes would be fantastic, at least here in the Southwest. So I don't know about down there, but I can say that we've been working very diligently here in Ohio to get that done. Manchester is currently working on grants for that. Ripley, Ohio is working on that. Michael, is it Higginsport? Higginsport. All three of those little towns along the Ohio River that border Kentucky are working on updating boat ramps and getting more accessible bank fishing spots. So hopefully by the end of the year, at least Ripley will be done. I can't say about the other two. I don't know that they've gotten their grants yet. Is there bank fishing up there, like at the lakes and stuff where you guys are?
Yes, but it's limited.
Yeah, back when I was a kid, growing up, of course, I bank fish, most of my life, and there was a lot more accessible areas. But we're here in Central Ohio, and a lot of our lakes are public water, and there's been a real big kind of environmental push for natural growth along the banks to keep pollutants down. So a lot of the bank fishing areas that we had that I fished when I was a kid, they're closed off and overgrown now. It was, like I said, to promote water quality. So I don't see that changing in the near future. And I do it is a little depressing because, like I said, a lot of areas I used to, bank fish as a kid and teenager and young man, just aren't there anymore. So like I said, I don't foresee that changing anytime.
A lot of our lakes are also populated with houses too.
Yeah, you get that. Now I will say with Hoover in the late fall, typically you have a water drop, especially during the dry season, and so every time you take a shower, mow your water your lawn, flush your toilet, the water drops. So the bank accessibility becomes there's a lot more accessibility, but year-round fishing it is kind of tough.
Do you guys have a lot of pleasure boaters on your lakes?
Some of them, for my trails, some of them, there's Alum Creek can be bad. That's why I schedule it early in the year. I try to schedule my tournaments around, the times where there's not going to be a bunch of pleasure boaters on the lake.
My lake has a 9.9 limit, so we get a lot of kayakers and a lot of pontoons and a lot of sailboats. So it's not really, honestly, it's not really that bad. That's one of the reasons why a lot of guys like fishing it, is because you get to avoid the big power boats and skiers and jet skiers and all those guys.
I'm just going to pop on some questions here or some comments so we can just get them on before we leave. Sometimes I'm not able to watch these lives, but I enjoy them, so keep them coming. We appreciate that. This is one of the River Rats guys, Mr. Jeff Watson. I want to thank you guys for how you made me feel welcome and how you helped me become a better fisherman. Thank you, Jeff. Here's a Hoover. My son and I were new to Hoover Trail mid last year. I have to say that Joe and James, among many others, have been extremely helpful with all aspects of fishing in general.
Yeah, Alva is one of our newer fishermen, and he's kind of jumped in with both feet. So it's good having him along here, and he's a really cool guy, and he fishes with his son, and seeing him out there has been a lot of fun. So thanks, Alva.
Do you guys do like a youth award at your tournaments?
We don't.
With us, it depends on what I have to give away. Yeah.
We don't have a lot of youth. We get some kids here and there. Somebody will bring their son or their daughter, but not every tournament has a youth on the boat.
Yeah.
So I kind of look at who's registered, and if I have, depending on what I have to give, and if I see I have a couple kids or one of the lady anglers, I'll try and do something along those lines.
There's a comment for you, Andy. Andy, you should. Carter got top youth last week.
Yeah, he did.
I'm wondering what happened to Craig. I came up and there's Sean and his kid. I'm like, it was Sean and Craig. And Craig disappeared and turned into Carter.
There he says, "Oh, never mind. Skip's daughter."
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, Skip's
Yeah,
daughter. Yep, she
right.
was the top angler.
Well, it's 8:30, so we're gonna wrap things up here. I'm gonna say we didn't even come close tonight. The most that we had was 34 views, which is a pretty decent one. Conservation is not always the hottest topic for people. So I appreciate you all hopping on here. I really appreciate the three of you. I hope you didn't feel like I put you on the spot too much. I was just trying to read comments to you so you had a chance to respond if you wanted to. But we really appreciate you giving us our insight, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.